Okay, so we're going to go through the exact same presentation as Dr. Flint said as we did Tuesday, last Tuesday. And so the first few slides are just a budget process overview, both kind of during this time, but also throughout the fiscal year. We ask you, the board, to approve the budget at the legal reporting level, which is the expenditure function and revenue source by fund. And then we manage that budget as district personnel within what you've approved, and periodically throughout the year, of course, do reviews of the budget to assess performance and whether any adjustments are necessary to remain relevant and effective. And then, if so, we bring you that via a budget amendment, and that's if we believe that any budgets will exceed what's currently approved by fund and function. And then upon approval, we adjust the budget, and that's what we use moving forward. And again, this isn't a requirement or anything like that from a legal perspective, but it is a good internal control process to ensure we're communicating with you and the public that we would like to modify the budget at some level. You also see monthly reports, financial reports, as you know, both for the general fund, school nutrition fund, special projects, but also the building program, and that one looks a little bit different, and it's detailed by project, by each East Loss cycle that's still active and has funds to be spent. And so you see those and approve those each month as well. Okay, so getting into the proposed budget, this is without needed improvements, which we'll get into later in the presentation. But very similar to what we see every year with your estimated revenue sources at the top of the left-hand side, and then your estimated expenditures by function on the left-hand side. And then each column is a different fund that we manage independently from one another. So the general fund there has total estimated revenues of right above $390 million, and then total estimated expenditures of $398 million in the general fund. And then special revenue and school nutrition are again your federal funds and your school nutrition program as well. And you can see the estimated revenue and expenditures there. Building fund is the building program with estimated revenue at about $55 million and total expenditures of $154 million. And they're going to be higher because we are currently spending down bond funds that we recently issued. And so as we're spending those down on projects, you're going to anticipate that expenditure exceeding revenue in that way. Debt service fund is pretty much a wash every year. It's what we use to, of course, pay our bonds, and then workers' compensation fund for our self-paid workers' comp program that we have in the district. So that's how the numbers stand before improvements, and we'll get into those later and then take a look at the budget. So general fund breakdown of revenue is on the left-hand side here, very similar to years past. About 60%, a little less, from state revenue, about 40% from local revenue, and a tiny bit in impact aid funds that are allowed to be in the general fund for operations. And then the right-hand side is when you add all those funds together, it does change the revenue distribution a little bit because you've added those federal programs and some nutrition in there. So 50% state, 4.5% federal, and about 45% local is the distribution of revenue there. And so if we get into the general fund more specifically, we like to bring you this every year and update this for you with relevant data. We have 2025 as the most recent data. It just kind of puts things into context. So starting at the top, we're the 15th largest out of 180 school districts. When you look at FTE reported on the cubic allotment sheet, the next few are as a percent of the total budget, what we spend in each area. And so we are 6th out of 180. So we spend the 6th most as a percent of our budget on instruction out of 180 districts. So that's a very good thing, of course. We spend 178th most, so at the bottom of the list of a percent spent per FTE for pupil services. General administrations, when we talk about, we are last in the state as a percent, so we spend the least as a percent on general administration out of 180 school districts. And when you look at those, the last one is how much we spend total per FTE, per pupil expenditure. So 12,155 last year makes us 174th out of 180. So we're spending little as compared to other districts in the state. When you look at the districts that are spending less, they are smaller districts with fewer than 5,000 FTE. I'd like to show you this each year as well. It's just an expenditure comparison in general categories. Just like in years past, we spend about 90% of the general fund budget on salaries and benefits. That's the vast majority of our operations, our people. And the rest on things like fuel, insurance, textbook, school supplies, all those things that it takes to run a school district from a non-personnel perspective. These are the changes in our employer matching benefits for next year. FICA and Medicare are remaining the same. There is an increase on teacher retirement up to 22.32%, so a 1.87% change. Health insurance for certified and non-certified employees is also increasing to $23,220, so a 2.65% increase there. And then life insurance and our supplemental retirement program remain the same for next year. And so when we put those sort of state mandated, if you will, increases onto a slide or on the dollar amounts, this is what it looks like in total. So we already built into the budgets a step increase for all employees. Again, that's tied in, and your fund is tied in to do that because of the way the state funds you. T&E, teaching, training and experience for teachers. So we lose out on that if we didn't do it. So a step increase costs about $4.2 million. That state health increase about 2.8, and then TRS, that slight increase, percentage-wise, is still about $1.5 million to the general fund budget. I like to look at inflation every year while we talk about budget, and this is a snapshot of Consumer Price Index 12-month percentage change from March of 25 to March of 26. And you can see it broken down in the different categories that the way the Bureau of Labor Statistics presents it. We really like to use the one to the far left, that's all items. It kind of combines all categories together and gives you an overall snapshot of inflation. And so from March of last year to March of this year, that's a 3.3%. We then take that and add it to our history of salary increases. We go back to 2020 for conversation purposes, have plugged in those US inflation rates there. And if you add all those up, we're at about 27.3% inflation since 2020. And we've also, on the right-hand side, recorded all the cost of living adjustments we've done throughout the year, throughout the years, as well as any one-time stipends or supplements that we or the state have been able to provide. And so when you add the permanent percentage cost of living adjustments together over that time, we're at 16.9%. So we're approximately 10.5% off of inflation when you look at cost of living adjustments that we've been able to do for the salary schedule since that time. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Flint to go through the general fund